Hey everyone, and welcome back to Under the Brick. And today I'm going to be covering the new set of collectible minifigure series, that being Series 26 of 12 new minifigures that are space themed. This is to coincide with the slight relaunch of Lego Space across Lego's themes, and this is a minifigure series based around that theme. So let's just jump into these figures and see what they're all about then. So first up we have the Spacewalk Astronaut. And I will admit, I'm pleasantly surprised by this figure, and that'll go for a lot of these figures. For a while they had been leaked, and no real up-close pictures of them had been found yet, so I was sort of going off of what had been leaked. But actually finally getting all these guys in hand, there are some really unique pieces to all of them. And let's start here, well, with the Spacewalk Astronaut. They have this new backpack piece that has a set of studs on the back in a 2x3 arrangement, alongside two studs on the front in this sort of headlight configuration. This is used to make the large air tank and backpack combo. On the back of it there is a tile with the space logo. There are two studs used on the front, one for a camera and one for a light. And then these cheese slope pieces that I presume are joysticks. This figure is sort of based off of how a normal astronaut would look, and Lego's captured that really well. From the slight bit of arm printing and leg printing to even the dome golden helmet on the front. Underneath, the face print has a sort of balaclava-esque thing going on, and it really works. I was pleasantly surprised by this figure. Interestingly, this minifigure reminds me of a minifigure we had quite a while ago. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's just an interesting little coincidence. Interestingly, though, a lot of these figures are inspired or reference minifigures we've had in the past, especially from space. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So let's move on to the next figure. And our next figure is the Imposter. And I was a bit confused when I first saw this guy, but it turns out this guy's holding a little bit of a secret. Well, he's already holding it, and you can probably tell what it is that this guy here is controlled by some little green men. That's a bit weird. It's kind of Men in Black, I guess. At the same time though, this figure is kind of fun. I do like the attention to detail on the torso and legs. There are little rivets and little scuff marks all over it, really sort of painting the idea that this is a quote-unquote human. Well, this is a robot dressed up as a human, I should say. And the face print even adds to that with this sort of, I guess you could say almost sort of uncharacteristically sort of painted on smile almost, and I think that's quite funny. And obviously the antenna adds to that. I'm happy to report as well this is a separate piece, and that's actually quite good because when I first saw this hairpiece I thought of maybe about 3 different actors this looked like. One was Brendan Fraser, Leonardo DiCaprio, and the third guy. Maybe another version of Brendan Fraser, I don't know which one, but still. But this figure is kind of cool. It even comes with these little green men, and interestingly though, I'm curious to know if this works in the Lego Space lore they're sort of doing recently, that being that these guys look a little bit like the ones that have been appearing in some of the sets. I don't know, it's just food for thought. Let's see what the next figure is hiding. Well, this guy's obviously hiding in plain sight, but let's go on to the next figure. Next up is the Alien Tourist, and this little guy is quite cool. He may be quite simple, but he's hiding some interesting pieces. First off, he has the new fedora piece in a new colour that was recently introduced with the detective minifigure from last series. His arms and legs feature some dual moulding, and even has this sort of underutilised backpack piece that's made a slight return in Dreams, surprisingly. And this little guy here might be a reference to another grey alien we got in a minifigure series almost like a while ago. But this guy's a bit nicer looking. He's happy enough to be a little tourist and come and have a look around. This guy is quite cool. He includes a camera as an accessory and that's about it. I don't know, maybe a map would have been a nice little detail with a crop circle or something on it, but still this guy is a neat little figure enough as he is. And next up is a bit of a blast from the past, that being the retro space Heroine. And here she is. She has a sort of hair and hat combo, being this sort of large helmet with these sort of swooping parts to it, along with a ponytail poking out the back. On her torso and arms, she has some interesting dual moulding going on, alongside her legs. There are these little golden parts as well that really highlight the sort of retro feel they're going for. She includes this little pit bull as well that starts to look like a robot dog. That's moulded purely in that silver, that really nice shiny silver Lego uses. Interestingly though, I think she's supposed to go with the retro space hero we had quite a while ago. I can't remember which series in particular, but I do remember him. I'll put a picture of him up on the screen here and you can get the idea. She also has a dual-sided face as well, with 2 similar-like expressions. And that's kind of all for her, though she is a really neat figure. Though it would have been kind of neat if maybe she had a cape or something. Well anyway, that doesn't really matter really at the end of the day. So let's move on to the next figure. And the next figure here might be my favourite out of the whole set, that being the Tron Powerlifter. And I was curious to know if this claw element and this new rubber piece were separate. They are not. They're sort of fused together at the end of the arm, and then they connect into this backpack piece. Interestingly though, on the back there's this interesting little printed piece here. I think people may get some use out of this. It is a caution symbol after all. Lego really likes their caution symbols. It also has this little crate that has started to look like some of the older M-Tron crates as well. And his torso and legs are a much more modernised styled version of the M-Tron torso and legs, even featuring some dual moulding on the legs to give these sort of boots, and even the side printing of extra armour plating. It's a really cool look. On top of that, he has a dual-sided face giving him a green visor as well. This is sort of a home run for me as a figure, but still, let's move on to the next figure. And our next figure is a little bit of an understated one, that being the Nurse Android. I was curious to know what this figure is really about, and actually owning it, it's pretty neat. She has some translucent blue arms that have some printing on them. She includes that space baby from a few series ago, but this time in pink instead of blue. And she includes that baby bottle piece that is kind of uncommon. Her head has a little interesting secret as well. If you take off her hairpiece, it reveals a little outlet port on the back of her head. This is similar to how Zane had one from Ninjago for quite a bit. Though she's a very simplistic little figure. Various pieces of panelling on her body and a little bit of blue. It kind of works, and the colour scheme is really pleasing. And she's just a really sweet looking character. And to be honest, she is a nurse after all, so that's pretty cool. Interestingly though, I like to think maybe she is the sort of female companion to the normal space robot we've gotten in a few creator sets. You know, the blue head and silver torso. I don't know, it's just a little bit of a theory. I like linking minifigs together in pairs. It sort of completes them a little bit. So let's move on to the next figure then. And next up is the Flying Saucer costume guy. I wasn't really sure about this figure when I first saw it, and it's kind of grown on me a little bit, but it still is sadly my least favourite out of the set. The torso is very simple, but it's one of my favourite parts of this minifigure. It's just a starry background, and in combination with the new tile base, it really works. There's a little shooting star and little shining stars, and even on the back there's a planet Earth. I'm just not a big fan of the head. The flying saucer piece itself is a really cool part, and I can see some people maybe using it for mocks, but it's just not my favourite figure, and I'm not sure why. I really want to like it, but it's just my least favourite out of the set, sadly. Though I think our next figure is going to be a little bit more interesting to talk about, so let's get on to that. Our next figure is a little bit of a bittersweet one though, that being the Ice Planet Explorer. And it's cool enough Lego has given a new Ice Planet figure, but sadly, recently, Trans Neon Orange has been retired, and Ice Planet was kind of associated with it for a lot of the builds using it, especially the chainsaw that is pretty much tied to Ice Planet, though the figure is a bit of a love letter to it. The minifigure herself has this new sort of shoulder pad piece that's appeared in a few Star Wars sets but coloured in blue and has the Ice Planet symbol printed on one shoulder. Her body carries similar elements from past Ice Planet figures, and she even has this new helmet mould that harkens to the sort of large orange visors they had. Interestingly as well, she has this little penguin drone that uses the, I'm going to say it again, the slightly uncommon penguin piece, but coloured in white and styled to look like a little robot. Just to mention it as well, the chainsaw build is really cool as well, using this new rounded stud brick. And like I said, it is a bit sad that Trans Neon Orange has sort of gone, but it is nice enough that they used regular Trans Orange to illustrate that. I can see a lot of people buying quite a few of this figure to army build up a new Ice Planet army, or like a new Ice Planet team I should say. Sorry, I got army building on the brain. But still, she's a really cool figure. On top of that, she includes this recolor of Soldier 76's hair in pure red. I mean, some people will get some use out of that. Anyway, let's go on to the next figure. And our next figure is the robot Butler, and this one is really unique because it includes a unique new leg element that is styled to be these sort of tank tread-esque feet, and it's really cool looking. On the torso, there are these sort of detailings for, you know, your usual sort of futuristic stuff, you know, your cassette players and your dials and your buttons, you know, all futuristic things that are, you know, obviously still around today. On the arms, there's just some nice little bit of printing and some gold hands. They also include the whisk and the larger saucepan piece, and the head's pretty cool as well. It's got this sort of endearing little look to it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Johnny 5 for some reason, if anyone knows that. On top of that, they have this sort of large fishbowl headpiece that I think was used for Mysterio, but coloured in translucent green. And it really makes the figure really pop against the rest of them. And our next figure is a pretty cool one, that being the alien Beetlezoid. And this is kind of cool. I have a feeling they might be a distant relative of some of the Galaxy Squad bugs. But still, don't let them define them. This is a really cool looking figure. First off, the head is this almost translucent, printed, fused part, and it's amazing. They even have these little ladybird wings that I've never seen before, that I think appeared on a ladybird figure a while ago. And on top of that, they have those interesting sort of arced legs that only made an appearance once or twice for characters like Stripe and that one guy from Narnia. Well, he wasn't from Narnia, but still, you get what I mean. And still, the colour scheme of this figure is amazing on top of that. A lot of dark blue, a nice bit of pink, well, magenta pink, and even just the lightest bit of blue, and it really works. Then for their accessory, they just include this weird little set of berries. I'm not really sure what it is 100%, but still, this minifigure is maybe my second favourite of the set due to its unique moulded parts. Though now we got to get on to our last figure. Well, second to last figure, I should say. So let's see who that is. And our second to last figure is Orion. And this is a really interesting figure. It's almost entirely translucent besides the main torso, that being this lovely silver moulded torso that has some armour detailing to it. But don't let that distract from the rest of the figure, because this guy looks amazing. It's this sparkly infused purple translucent plastic, and it just looks amazing. Interestingly though, they have this new club piece that I've never really seen before. It's a bit smaller than the usual club piece, but it's a bit thinner. It's kind of weird. Still is neat though. On their shield as well, they include the Orion star symbol, or constellation I should say, and that's a neat little touch too. I have a feeling they go alongside the Moon Knight from a few series ago as well. So, as again, you can probably army build with these, but still don't let that define this figure. This figure is really good on its own, and it's an amazing thing to look at. Just so shiny and sparkly. Though let's get on to the last figure of this series. Though the last figure of this series is a really interesting one, sadly I do have some nitpicks with it, and that is the BlackTron Mutant. Now BlackTron has made appearances throughout LEGO in recent history, but this is an entirely new figure for BlackTron, that being this half-mutated guy, though I think it kind of falls short in one area, that being that it's only one side of the figure. Hopefully down the road we'll maybe get another person who's mutated on the other side, so then you can fully complete one mutant. But the parts we do get here are really cool. We have the sort of dual arms that were introduced in Star Wars, another set of those arced legs like we saw on the Beetlezoid, but this time moulded in green with some new detailing. And not to mention the BlackTron torso itself, luckily isn't mutated in any way, so if you took off the arms and legs and replaced them with standard black and white ones, you would have a pretty normal BlackTron member. They also have that gas mask piece in black, and their face print as well is half mutated, almost having a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on. And on top of that, they have a pretty cool looking Mohican and a set of 2 guns. Though, with the shortcomings of this figure easily being fixable, this is another solid figure that I think some people will really get a kick out of. And so that's all the figures. I will admit, this is a bit of a home run for a minifigure series to me. As I said, I only really don't like one of these figures, and that's out of 12 of them. So if I like 11 of them out of that 12, I think that's a pretty good home run. The highlights are obviously the new parts and the new colours for existing pieces, pretty much just a love letter to Lego Space itself. And I think a lot of people will get a kick out of the retro throwback figures, and some people will probably get a kick out of the new fangled figures. But still, this is a really cool set, and I do recommend picking it up if you are a fan of Lego Space, and if you are a fan of doing custom stuff as well, due to the unique pieces and stuff. I'll definitely be using some of these parts in some of my mocks coming up. Though I am thinking about a series with these guys, though I think that probably needs a bit more time thinking over. But still, you never know. So what did you think of these figures? Do you have any of them, and what is your favourite out of the series? Leave them down below if you want, subscribe if you would like to look forward to news, reviews, and possibly some mocks. And it's me, Under the Brick, saying, well, goodbye, and see you next time.
Space toys.